What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Griff, and welcome to the Angry Astronaut. Now, it's been a few weeks since the announcement of Bethesda's Creation Club and the letdown of their conference at E3. And it's no secret that a lot of what Bethesda had to announce was received poorly, from cries of paid mods to the obligatory comments and complaints, and rightfully so, that they need to stop releasing the same game over and over. After the conference was over, however, I wanted to weigh in on their newest version of paid modding, because essentially that's what it is, and what concerns I have about it, but I wanted to wait for more information, and also for the dust to settle a little bit. Now, just in case you missed the Bethesda E3 conference, or the huge outcry that happened afterwards, here's a quick rundown on what Creation Club actually is. In the simplest form, this is it. Bethesda is going to hire modders to make mods that need to meet two standards. Number one is that Bethesda needs to recognize it as original, and number two is that it must go through an approval process and pass that process. After that, the mod author will create the mod in partnership with Bethesda, who will then curate the mod and make sure it's up to official standards, including working with saved games and all that other jazz. So essentially, they're passing it off as official DLC, which in a way is kind of true, but at the same token, it is definitely a modder doing the work, so I view it as a paid mod. Now, as a consumer, I'd be lying if I said that I was 100% totally okay with the Creation Club. But I'd also be lying if I said I was completely against it as well. And you're probably sitting there saying to yourself, well, Griff, there's nothing consumer-friendly about paying for something that has almost always been free. And in general, I would agree with you. But stay with me and let's analyze what could actually be good about this system. Now, as most people will tell you, they enjoy Bethesda games not just because they're usually well-crafted and boast a good amount of content in the base game, but because of the amazing modding community and the work that modders put into expanding the experience of the base game. This ends up leading to a much longer lifetime for almost all of these games, with mod authors doing amazing work on mods like Falscar that are essentially DLC-sized mods that add so much to the game anyways. Now, it is my personal hope that something like this Creation Club actually entices mod authors to make more of these type of mods. After all, a lot of the people in the community are always wanting more story-driven content in the game, or more official DLC. This type of a system would allow Bethesda to pump out more official DLC-sized content with the help of the community, and in theory, it should be a win-win. I'm also willing to pay for that kind of content. After all, most of us pay for official DLC anyways, and what difference does it make who made it, as long as it's expansive game content that gives us several more hours of gameplay and new stuff to do. It's these types of modders that I feel honestly deserve some type of compensation for their work. The second thing that I see as good is that it will motivate mod authors to fill voids in what the games community is actually wanting to see added into the game. For example, in Fallout 4, we as a community have an abundance of real-world firearms, but practically no real-world military equipment such as chest rigs or plate carriers. There's also a surprising lack of male clothing and armor options. Now, even if a mod author's intent is completely selfish in filling voids, what difference does that actually make? The end result is that the void is still being filled, and for me personally, I would not mind paying a small, and let me emphasize small, amount for a chest rig or plate carrier in my game, as well as some high quality melee weapons. However, even though there is a silver lining, a lot of how the Creation Club will be perceived is all on how Bethesda actually executes it and the actual quality of the mods that are available on Creation Club. And this is where a lot of the skepticism and the hate comes from. And honestly, I can't blame people, especially after what happened with the way that Steam and Bethesda went about handling their mods. Now, most of that is on Bethesda. I'm not going to blame Steam for that. A lot of that was on Bethesda. And Bethesda really has not done much right now to help themselves when it comes to the Creation Club. For one, they've remained tight-lipped on their Creation Club since announcing it. There has been little to almost no news about it from Bethesda themselves after revealing it, and their reveal didn't do much to help put faith in them. If I go to Bethesda's Creation Club webpage, or analyze the video that they showed, for instance, a lot of what is being shown off at face value for their Creation Club simply isn't worth it. It's not very compelling, and one of their main things that they showed off was a modular backpack. Why would I buy that when there are several backpack mods on the Nexus for free? And they also showed off a Chinese stealth suit. Yet again, why would I buy that when it already exists on the Nexus? And that leads into the next biggest problem that Bethesda is going to have. They openly stated that existing mods won't be able to be repurposed or be taken down to be sold on their Creation Club platform. Their own FAQ says, and I quote, "Is Creation Club paid mods? Question mark. No. Yes, it is, Bethesda. Don't lie to us. Mods will remain a free and open system where anyone can create and share what they'd like. We won't allow any existing mods to be retrofitted into Creation Club. It must all be original content." And yet, we see Creation Club content that is either a copy of something already existing or is adding functionality that we already get from free mods on the Nexus. I'm looking specifically at you, Recolored Pip-Boy. The next and biggest issue for me is what actually determines the price of the mod. We've heard no official word on this, or no official word on what the actual exchange rate of dollars to credits are. If armor and weapon mods, as well as other smaller DLC type stuff, is as or more expensive than a few dollars, it's just simply not worth it. The Gunrunner's Arsenal pack for Fallout New Vegas, for example, was $3.99 when it released, and it contained several weapons, as well as a few other things that were brought to the game. The second problem relates to the first little bit, as well as one of the good things that could come from this. What's stopping Bethesda from ramping up the price on an item that is completely original and also not available anywhere else in the modding community? For example, what is stopping them from taking a plate carrier, something that isn't available at a high quality as far as I know, and making that one item maybe $5, $7? And now we hit the part in this video where I explain why I think Creation Club even exists at this point, and this is where it gets a tad bit tinfoil hatty. So almost a year ago, consoles received the ability to mod their Bethesda games through Bethesda's mod page that is now embedded in Fallout 4 and Skyrim Enhanced Edition. At this time, it was quite unclear as to what consoles would be able to get, and for the Xbox, a lot of the main PC mods you can get for your Xbox. However, Sony was quite a bit more restrictive and blocked the following things. Number 1, new models. Number 2, altered models. Number 3, new color patterns. And number 4, new sounds. There were a few other things that they decided to block, but I won't bother mentioning because they actually make sense and would actually make for a lesser gameplay experience on the hardware that the PS4 has available to it. So basically, Sony decided that any external assets were not going to be allowed on their platform for reasons that they seem to not want to divulge on, but my guess would be that Sony didn't want their users screwing up their game because they used a mod and then complaining to Sony about it. On this topic, Bethesda stated that they were disappointed that they couldn't convince Sony to actually alleviate the restrictions and apologize to the greater community. But personally, I think Bethesda looked at this as a blessing in disguise and also a way that they could go for paid modding again. And surprise, surprise, locking these mods behind a paywall and also marketing them as paid content that is curated actually got Sony to allow all of the things that they said no to onto their platform. I don't think there is one piece of content that is highlighted on the Creation Club page or video that doesn't fall into one of the categories that Sony put a ban on. So, yeah, I kind of blame Sony for the second coming of paid mods. I think we all knew it was going to come anyways, but I'm going to blame Sony for being the catalyst that brought it around a little bit sooner than I think it was going to be around. So, anyways, that just about wraps up this video. In the end, I'm hopeful that this system might actually bring some good into these games that I love so much. But I'm also very worried that it will be abused by Bethesda's suits in order to try to maximize profits on year-old games at this point. Anyways, my name is Griff. This has been the Angry Astronaut. Hope you enjoy your day, and if you like the content, please subscribe and leave a like, and maybe even leave a comment. Have a good one.